All right, hey there guys, Sam here from TradeDevils.com and TradeDevils-indicators.com. So today, this is what I hope is a relatively brief video just to go over the latest release of the price action indicator. We've added a few new features here and changed the user interface just enough here. We think it's an improvement, so I wanted to give you kind of an update here on how we use it and some suggestions about how you might get the best use from it. So let's just go over what's on the screen here first, right? So as I always do, I'm recording this on Saturday, the 8th of October. So I've just got the last, I always just use the last couple of days of data. I never cherry pick, never need to. So this is a 2,000 tick chart of the December ES. Oh, I've got our toolbar up here because I'm going to grab tools from that as we're going through the video. I have, as I always do, our initial balance indicator. A couple of reasons. One, it frames the day for us and gives us a beginning, middle, and end. You'll note here I'm using an RTH, regular trading hours template. But additionally here, the reason I put that on there is because I want to strongly advise that if you're not using ours or you use somebody else's or mark it yourself, right? You just have to know where these levels are. They're too important. The algos key off of them throughout the course of the day. I mean, look at the IB mid here and the open. They're just too important. In fact, we find it, we think it's so important here. If I go over to the page on our site here where you'd be looking at what's going on with this price action indicator, and if you wanted to read some of the initial video, or pardon me, watch I should say, some of the initial videos that went through this in great detail, and there's a whole lot of new information here for you to get fully informed on what's been here. But what I'm drawing your attention to is that we think this is so important to add to the price action indicator that we're giving you an option here to add it to your order if you didn't already own it, right? Assuming this is not just an upgrade for you. But we're giving you that option here and giving you a little discount on it as well. So because we'd encourage you to not trade without it, right? No matter what approach you're using. So that said, okay, we got that. Okay, again, I've just got a sim account over here. This is our trade panel that is not related to this indicator. This is the entry toolbar for the price action indicator. I have this up here for demonstration purposes because we can do our order entry down here or we can do it over here. It's just up to the individual. Okay, let's go over this as quickly as I can. Okay, so I think the first thing to do, let's go into the parameters and I'll show you this and why I have it set this way, and then we'll look at how the drop down interacts with the parameters. Okay, so just pause for 1 second, I'll bring those up. Okay, so I've got the price action indicators right on top. So let's just go down these one at a time. So first, the leg counting method, either Al Brooks or many of you will know Mac is another kind of a leader in this particular approach. But my suggestion is default would be Al Brooks, right? He's kind of the pioneer of this entire approach. So I typically will leave it there, but that's personal preference. What do you want to see on entries here? You've got choices of pivots or entries. I just do entries. Do you want engulfing bars to be counted or ignored? I typically leave that off. It's up to the individual. Do we want to reset the count at a double top or a double bottom, as in where's the first, is it a 1, 2, right, second entry? I typically leave that checked. Do I want to see the zeros and the ones? That can be useful if you're just trying to learn, if you're just learning this methodology for entries. That can be helpful, right? So again, it's personal preferences. Do you want to have that on? If you did have it on, do you want the 3, 4, and 5? Oh, do you want the little zigzag lines? Do you want those to be on? Well, again, that's kind of personal preference here, but we'll look at a faster way to do that. Do you want to see the stop loss and take profit? Well, that could be tied to whether or not you've got it set for internal, or you're going to just use the ATM here. Well, again, we'll look at that in a little more detail. Do you want to show traps, essentially failed second entries? I would encourage you to keep those on. Stop loss and ticks. I mean, it's up to you, right? So very typically, there's going to be a max stop loss. So here I have set a max stop loss here at 16. So do I need that on the screen? It can get a little crowded in there. So there may be a reason that you're doing it because you're working off of, rather than set number of contracts, you're working off of percentage of capital. And if you're doing that, then the number of contracts it will change based on your account size. So that's the reason that you might want to have that checked on. Do you want to see number of contracts? Do you want to see stop loss? Do you want to see it in dollars and cents? sense, right? All of that. Those are just personal choices, individual preferences. Do you want to see the higher high and higher low? Again, it can be on a choppy day like this. It may be too much. I typically leave them off. Do you want to show congestion? Congestion are these little areas here where the market moves sideways. I typically leave those on. I just want to, I mean, it can't hurt to, again, but that's personal preference. Entry bar timer, well, that's just a countdown timer. Since it's Saturday here, I'm not connected to data, obviously. So that we won't be able to see that, but that would just give you a countdown so you know when the bar is about to end. And then do you want to show the EMA? Right, this comes by default with it. It's a 21-period EMA. Change that if you like it. Right? It's up to you, but that's a good starting point. Oh, and then the congestion margin here for these little congestion boxes here, we typically put 2 ticks on either side. Now, trade management here, do you want to do it internally or do you want to use the ATM, right? If you set it to the ATM, now this takes over. If you set it internally, well, then what we'll look here will take over. Okay, do we want to put commission in? That's probably a good number to use to stay conservative. Some people like to keep, take it out, but I would encourage you to keep whatever rate you're paying in. With the traps, right? Yes, we want to keep that stop loss above or below the signal bar. Seems pretty reasonable, but I mean, again, do you want to put it do you want to see it represented in ticks? Is it based on ATR? This above below the signal bar is a good starting point. Max stop. All right, we'll look at some scenarios here where we can show you that where it could be it could be below 16, but you don't want any stop beyond 16. And we'll look at that in a second when we go to the drop-down menu. It'll be easier to show you than describe it here. And then the tick offset. Now, if you're scalping, well, this is set for a 3-lot approach to trading here with 2 for a runner. 2 for a scalp, 1 for a runner. So the first target for the 2 scalps are 5 ticks. Right. Then I've got a runner set at 12 ticks for its target. And again, we'll show you this can be set. The stop management here can be either internal or your ATM. We'll look at that in a second. I'll circle back to that. Where do you want to see this order panel? Bottom, left, or right? Right. I mean, if you want it top, left, right, it's up to you. Right. Bottom. I'm just going to leave it there for this demonstration. Now, signal bar filter. Now, I typically will leave it at 70. Let me describe it this way. So if I had set to 100. What that would mean is that for the signal bar, it would be, well, if it were a buy signal, it would be the bar closing on its high. That would be a 100%. If I had it set to 50, well, then it would trigger if it was as long as it's a green bar and it closed at 50% of the range of the candle. So by setting it at 70, I want to see the close of the signal bar, whether it's up or down, in the lower, third of that candle. Right. It's personal preference. You can tweak with it a little bit, see what you prefer. But the idea is, of course, we want to have a good solid signal bar, right, in the direction of the trade that we're looking. But you could dabble with that, play around with it. You turn it on or off if you like. Just kind of go through that and look at your results. But that's something to test and play with. 70 is, I think, it may even default to 75. But when you get it, tweak accordingly to your own preferences. Do we want to set key entry points? So the idea here is that if I'm going to use the EMA as a key entry point, well, then that's going to limit the number of trades that it's going to automatically detect. So I would encourage you, yes, to keep that on, as it will keep you focused to your entries around the EMA and not too far from it. Probably a good starting point. And then do you want a session filter? Well, I have an RTH here, so I don't need a session filter. But if I was looking at ETH and I only wanted to see signals during regular trading hours, I could just click that on. And right, same thing as going ETH to RTH. Okay, support and resistance. Do you want these on? Well, we've given you some levels of how much do you want to see there. Well, it's just kind of a nice add-on feature. If you were trading this exclusively, you could add this for a little support and resistance. And then do you want to see it in ticks? Right? All of this available to you. This is probably a reasonable default to have it show support and resistance for the 15-minute chart. And of course, you can set alerts for all of these second entries. Right, setting up long or short. What the alerts that you'd like to have. What your labels. You can change them if you wanted to. I don't know why you would, but you certainly could. All the color coding here. This is all just standard Ninja stuff, right? However you like to set that. The one thing I'll show you here is that the EMA, this is going to come to you default as transparent at 1 because we're coloring it up here. If you wanted to thicken it up a little bit, you just would come down here. Keep it as transparent. right? Because the green and the red is actually controlled up above. But if you wanted to fatten it, you would do it right here. You don't change it from transparent, but just, I think the default comes as a 1. I like it a little fatter, so I changed it to 3. Okay, I think that's all of the parameters that we have here. So let's cancel that. Now let's look at how this all interacts with what we have in the drop-down menu. So first, right, it's just on or off. Right? I mean, there are times when you might want it off, or it's just kind of quick, as opposed to pull up the indicators to make it, delete it, or not make it visible. The zeros and ones, again, do you want to see those? Just, and again, that would primarily be for someone who's new to this. They're learning it, but you know, again, personal preference. Do we want to show traps? We can see the traps are in purple. There's a couple of these spots here where we get, you know, it's essentially a failed entry, second entry that gets reversed, but it can be an opportunity there to recover a trade. So something to consider. I would encourage you to keep them on. So we've got congestion on. So now here we were talking about this before. So traps on. This is what I was going to show you. That can be a little busy. You know, it's again personal preference. The congestion boxes. Do you want to see these little congestion? Some people may not, right? I tend to keep it on. Bar timer, we talked about that. That would be down here in the corner, counting down the bar, so you know when the bar is going to be finishing. All of the entries, if you're using the internal entries here, will be on bar close, right? So it will, if there's a trade setting up a second entry, you'll get a little triangle and an up or a down, right, based on what the setup is. If you hit buy up or sell down, it will put your entry right on that level with the associated target, so you don't have to fuss with it. But it will be on bar close. So let's see if I got all that. Yes, yes, yes. Stop loss, take profit. Do I want to see it? I know it. So in this case, because it's a fixed number of contracts, that's not necessarily something I want. It's just adding clutter to the chart again, but that's personal preference. Do I want to see it in ticks? Do I want to see number of contracts? Again, because this is set to only trade 3 lots, it would be no reason to have it on here. But again, if you were working off a percentage of capital, that the number of contracts could be dramatically different. So again, that's, I see, just in terms of what do you want to see here. Oh, number of contracts, let's turn that off. EMA off, on, right? I'm going to leave it on so I don't have to recalculate here. Now this is the trade management. Well, I guess maybe it's going to force me to. Hang on a second while that reloads and thinks about what it's doing. Where were we? Okay, EMA, on or off. Now, this is where you get the option here. Do I want the trade manager to be internal or ATM? Right, internal, what do I have set here? ATM, obviously over here. Scalp, here I can set this here. So you can see I've got a 2 lot. The maximum stop here is 16. And my target here on this 2 lot here is the 5 ticks. Now, the reason that you have to set here the max number of stops, because for example, if I change this to be ticks or the ATR, well, suppose the ATR. So I have the ATR of a 14 period ATR, and I would want the stop to be at twice that 14 period ATR. Well, if we have high volatility, that could be in excess of 16 ticks. So what I'm doing there is telling it nothing beyond 16 ticks, regardless of what the ATR is. Right, so that's the whole idea there. Let's see. Above below single bar is how I have it set. So let's see. So if this is your signal bar, the stop is going to be behind that, right, for the runner as we start. Now in this case, you would have gotten all your targets here. But these are the options. Do I want stop loss in ticks? Do I want it on the ATR? Or do I want it above or below the signal bar? This is a good default to start with, but experiment to your heart's content, whatever you prefer there. Okay, that's for the scalp. Now on the runner here, how do I want this set? Again, do I want the position size to be contracts, dollars, percentage of capital, or none? Well, let's go back to here and let's go back to contracts. All right, since I have this set to trade a 3 lot, 2 on the scalp, 1 on the runner. I would just leave this as it is. Right, target is 12 ticks. Now, what do I want to do here? If the first 2 get filled, this is currently set to move to break even after the scalps are filled. I could change it to a certain number of ticks. I could change it to the ATR. I could change it to a risk reward scenario. right? Do I want 3 to 1, 4 to 1, or I just want scalp target hit and then I want to move to break even? Okay, stop loss trailing. Do I want it to be the previous bar high? Do I want it to be that ATR again? Oh, right here. Do I want none, or do I want it to be, you know, as I originally had it set, to be the previous bar high and low? Right, target is 12 ticks. Right, so hopefully that makes sense there. So I don't think well, maybe I do have to recalculate. Which if you make a change, it's going to recalculate it for you. So it takes just a second. So let's get that back. Okay, so we're through trade management here, and this will, I'm going through it quickly, right? So you're not here for an hour. Of course, if you own it, you just fuss with it. If you're trialing it, same thing, just do a little experimenting. If you're new to this, well, we've got lots of video content on this particular indicator, and between what we're posting here, trialing it, just playing with it is ultimately how you really dial in on this. But you know, click on each of these so you know what they're doing, because you might forget. Oh, he was doing something there with the stop where it was above, below, or number of ticks. It's pretty hard to screw it up, right? You can click, right? Each one of these, wherever you see one of these options, you can make these changes, which is why the recalculate is here, because if we're making those changes, we got to tell the software how it wants to approach the money management here. So that's what's going on there. Okay, I think we've got this covered here. So again, it's internal is being set, so it's going to ignore whatever you have over here. Where do I want this? Do I want this on or off? Right? Do I want it bottom, left, right, top, right? Whatever you want. I'll put it back to bottom. Stats on. Well, the reason to keep this on is because it's going to give you access to some more features here. So if I click it here, then it's going to give me some additional parameters here that I can get to. But this we'll come back to this. This can be a little deceptive. So do I want to show stats? Yes. Do I want the signal bar filter? Well, we talked about that when we looked at the parameters. I have it set to 70, so I want that signal bar to be in the direction of the trade, right? Again, if it was at 100%, it would be on the low or the high. 70 just means we're in the lower or top third. Only show trades at key entry points. Well, now this is a big distinction here. So if you're currently, as it is right now, if I have that turned on, it's only going to show trades around the EMA. That's the only key entry location, or the key entry point, that is available for the software to identify prior to me doing any work on the chart. So as it is now, so for example, right now, so look at the difference here. So when I turn when I have it only show trades at key entry points, when I have that turned off, look at the day's result. It's negative 1675. If I have it only show entry points, key entry points, I'm at 787. Right, now that alone should get your attention, right? So obviously the key entry points are significant. So I would encourage you to keep that on, but you've got to understand, well, I'm going to explain this to you in a second. But right now, as the chart sits, the only key entry point it has to work with is the EMA. So it's only going to show you trades that are around the EMA. Well, that unto itself is a good filter, right? That'll keep you from taking a trade when you're too far from it, trust me, that's a good place to start. Okay, so we'll leave that key. I mean, here, just that difference alone, right? That difference to that ought to give you like, oh, well, maybe I want to start there, right? You don't have to keep it there as long as you understand what you're doing, but probably a good place to start. Hide counter trend trades. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. If you don't get a radical no change here, but I'm going to show you what that means. So I'm going to leave that on. EMA is key entry points. Yes. Session filter. Again, I'm RTH, so I don't need that. Show support and resistance. Well, here's the support and resistance. These little green and this maroon line here. Again, this is personal preference here. As to whether or not you want to see that. You can fatten those up, make them pull from more data. Again, that's just kind of a little add-on feature here that we make available to you. So that's a possibility. Let me recalculate that again because I've been making some changes in that. Okay, so there we go. So there you can see that's pretty much the primary feature set. And again, I know I'm going through it quickly and you're not going to remember all this. So again, if you don't own it, my strong recommendation would be to trial it. Right? We give you 7 days, 5 trading days, right, to trial the indicator. And then if you own it, right, you'll be familiar with most of this. This would just be well, of course, you can just download it from the website, and that you'll have the updated version. We've sent you an email. For those of you that, some of you aren't familiar with this, but if you got it, you say, well, where do I get it on the website? Well, all you would do, if you own the indicator, you would just download the trial, and it will automatically recognize your machine ID, so you will have the current version just by downloading the trial. Right, just for clarity there. We get a lot of questions about that. Okay, so I think we're done there. Okay, so let me, oh God, it's going longer than I thought. So hard for me to do a short video, but I'm going to try and keep moving quickly here. Okay, so let's just look at Friday, because the key feature that we have here is we're only showing trades at key entry points, and we are hiding counter trends. Right, hiding counter trend. Okay, well, now those of you that own it or have viewed the prior videos here, I'm going to open this up here so you understand what I mean by key entry points and counter trend. So as we said, well, here's our open, and the first drive is down. We retrace back. Right. So this, we can dictate the trend as we see it. Now you could use the EMA, right? I mean, I would assume this isn't in dispute as to what we have here. So this being a downtrend here to start the day, well, so a couple of things. So if I did not have the only show or hide counter trend trades, pardon me, if I did not have this checked and I turned that off, well, I'm going to get all sorts of trades. But if I have hide counter trend trades, as in don't show them to me, even though there are second entry longs in the midst of that downtrend, I don't even want to see them. I don't even want to be tempted to take them. So yes, I want to hide that. Now, but in this, weren't there some second entries in that drive down here? Yeah, there were. Well, how do I see those? Well, that's where your trendline tool is going to come into play, right? So here, just by where I put that, you're going to see new trades open up because this is in sync with the trend. So the second entry here, well, this is the net result. So this second entry, there's 263 off of that. This second entry here, this is an option to take that trade. There's been another winner. And then if I go here, now it's going to start to show me any additional trades. So here's a second entry that picked up 125. Now you say, well, wait a minute, how is this one 263 and this one's 125? Well, you'll recall when we hit 5 ticks of profit on the two scalp trades, the stop moves to break even. Well, here we didn't get to 16 before we got stopped out at break even. So that's what happened here. The first two hit their target on the kickback because we had not gone 16 ticks. We're stopped out at scratch there on the runner. So thus 125.83 here, 263 here. When we see the 263, that means all three got their target. 263, all got their target, all got their target, all got their target. Here, not all 125 again. Right, so you just got the first two out at 5, but then the runner got stopped at break even. But I'm digressing here. Let me make sure you understand here what's happening here. So now, as we start this, right? So relative, you could use the color of the EMA. That's not a bad way to do it. So if I put this on here, because now we're going up, and I'm telling it to only show me trades that are in sync with the direction that the market's going. So I want to see the second entry longs here. Now, whether I want to take them or not, well, that's up to the individual. But let's look at a couple of different ways you might approach this here. So here you could make a case here that I just have a range, right? So let's do that, right? So let's take here. Let me redo that again. So give you a more realistic, right? So here we can see like, hey, I got a potential range here. Let's come down to the low here. Okay, so I'm kind of stuck in this little box here. Well, so as a result of the fact that I'm now in a range, what do we know in a range, right? We want to buy the low and sell the high. And if we got back to the low, we'd want to. So we see down here, we've got entry here. We've got two, actually. There's a trap and a second entry here. Then we go into this uptrend. That's what's firing. Now, again, you don't have to take all these trades. You're just being alerted to the potential and the possibility that if you wanted to take them, you could. Okay, so I'm going up. EMA is green. I've got some long entries here. Now I'm in a bit of a box, so when I hit this essentially a double top here, it's going to fire a second entry short. I actually get mixed signals here. I've got a second entry short firing right into a second entry long. Right, it turns out the short wins the day. But note here that if I had this off, I wouldn't see this. I wouldn't see it unless I were to. I could even do it with a trend line, unless I draw. Well, I guess I can't. Oh no, oh, there it is. I would need to draw that with right there. Then you see it. All right, he's basically saying, okay, looks like a double top, so it will fire that short. All right, it's a little bit, the idea here is to help you identify where the better trades are. So this is a little bit of a learning tool. And now, if you don't like this, it's like, oh, Jesus, just show me where they are. Well, you just hide counter trends off and hide EMA, only show key entry points. Turn that all off. Oh, that would be here, right? Now look, do you want that many trades? Look at the result here. You don't want every trade. That's kind of the point, right? Of saying, no, I want to focus on the key entry locations rather than just every second entry, right? If you have it on every second entry, well, in this case, it turns out, right? It's totally random, right? So just over these last 3 days, if you took every second entry, well, you'd be up $2,000, right? But that's okay, on Friday you're down 700. My point being, you don't want to take every single, just your commission costs alone, right, would be problematic. So you don't want to take every one. So how do you identify the better trades? Well, that's really what's built in here, is how to identify those better locations for trading. So if you're practicing and you're working with this, trying to learn, oh, okay, this makes sense, but let's learn it. Well, then my suggestion would be to start here. Yes, put the signal bar filter on. Yes, only show trades at key entry points. Yes, hide counter. Why would you want to be taking counter trend trades? Now, if you're a very experienced trader, well, you probably don't need any of this. But for the aspiring trader or the trader who's looking to improve their results, that's not a bad place to start. Let's go with the trend. Now, that can be, you get to define the trend, right? Is this an uptrend here? Well, in the short term, yes. In the larger scheme, right? Did we ever have an uptrend other than these short little counter trend swings? All right, so that's up to you, right? If I take this off, so if I don't draw it there, then you're not going to see all of those, right? Or if I change it to hide counter trend trades, right? You've got a lot of flexibility here, but it's designed to help teach you along the way. That's kind of what we're after here. So use EMA as key entry points, yes. So session filter doesn't matter. So these are really important in terms of how the difference of where you're going to see those second entries shown on your chart based on how you set this. And it does take a little experimenting to get used to it. Just to let's find another good section here so you get clear on what we're doing here with defining the trend. So here, obviously, this would be an area you would like to participate in. So if I because I have, well, let's double check here that I've got it set. So if I have hide counter trends, right? So I can just use a trend line because I don't have to draw a channel because it's only going to show me, if I do it here, it's only going to show me shorts. I mean, so the other choice would be, as you'll often see price action traders, whether it's Al Brooks or any of the prominent educators, right? They'll almost always draw a channel. Well, since I'm not even considering taking this kind of a trade, I don't need to draw a channel. Just a trend line will do it because I'm only trading in the direction of that trend line. So I can do the exact same thing here. And I've got this second entry. I've got this second entry. Now here, right, you might look at that and say, well, wait a minute, is that another second entry here? Well, nothing gets triggered here. So it's consistent with the trend. Now, if I move it over here, I lose this one. Right now, you might want to lose that one because it's sitting in the midst of congestion. But if I come over here, now it fires again, right? So you might say, well, wait a minute, I can't see where's the little two-legged pullback. Well, now you see it. Well, so if I zoom in there, now you're going to see it a little bit better. All right, so we see the little. It's like a zigzag, right? So you see the little swings. Now see, I'm not sure. I'm not following that. Okay, well now I put the ones on. 1, 2, right? So if I come back here, if I can get one here. Oh, let's go ahead and use that one. Okay, so here's 1, 2, second entry short, right into consolidation, right? And that triggers a trap, right? So this would have been a failed second entry, so it's a trap. Well, the trap doesn't get you very far either, so you're just sitting in consolidation. So then we start again. Now if I get over to this one, Oh, do I have any? Oh, here's one. Okay, so I get over here. So now it's just looking at this saying, okay, the trend is down. Here's a second entry short. So yes, it'll allow that trade. If I come over here, okay, trend is down. It's hitting the trend line. So yes, I want that second entry. And then here's the one, or pardon me, this would be 1, 2, second entry short. Market tries to go down once and tries to go again. Right, that's the whole theory, right? The market's going to try twice to go in one direction. If it can't do it, well, then trap, it'll go the other direction. But with regards to what you're seeing, so now note up here, the number on the day has changed to 1176. When we started, before we started identifying and looking for all these areas where we're going to find additional trades based on trend, you're going to see those numbers change. Right, so just that's why the statistics over here, you've got to be really conscious of what you're seeing here. That may or may not be your net result. Odds are you're not going to take every one of these trades. So it requires you to be a little bit more selective, and I think that's a good thing for anyone using this, because it's going to make you be more selective about the trades that you do take. I mean, here we've got 2 of them right on top of each other. Are you going to take both of those? Maybe, maybe not. Here in the statistics here, it's going to count both of those as winners. Is that realistic to how you would trade it? I just caution you that this is just a tally. Is that reality? Well, this isn't an automated trading system. It's not designed to be. So you're not going to take all of these trades. I wouldn't be in twice there. I'd be in one. I'd be in a 3 lot just fine, right? Per this approach, but I wouldn't go with 3 and then add 3 more. Right? It's just I wouldn't do that, but some might, right? So let's see if we can get here. Here's another good example here. If I just use kind of our sideways tool, I think I can get a few more trades. So here you see, do you see how they show up here? Because now these are key entry points because I got a range. So in a range, where are the key entry points? The tops and the bottoms. Right? So here's one. So all of these new winners just showed up. Winner, winner. Here's a buy, right? So on the bottom, right. Here's the key entry point. We're in a range. Winner, winner. Get outside. Here's 1, 2, second entry. Another winner. Now here it's the last 10 minutes of the day on a Friday. Are you going to want to trade there? Maybe yes, maybe not. But remember, that's going to be reflected up here. So this is you got to take that number with a grain of salt. Again, it's not an automated system. So it's going to give you some guidelines as you adjust to what the indicator is really showing you. Right? Take those off, and the numbers will change. But something like this, I mean, obviously, you could do it. You could do it either way. I would probably do something like this as a nice tight channel, so I was clear. Right? Likely, what's happening here is, let's do it this way. You got this channel here, right? So in this channel, if there were any second entry longs, it's going to skip them. Right, because that's counter to the trend, right? It's counter to the EMA. You're away from the EMA. You're counter trend here, so it's not going to fire there. Right? It's only going to show you the shorts because we're going down. We've defined the down channel here, and the EMA is red. Right? Here's a little pop. All right, so here's the next. So swing, get outside of it. Right? We know. Al Brooks, right, really pioneered this. Right? So if we get this channel, if we break, this is breakout bait. Right, and then odds are very high that there will be another breach of this low, as there'll be another move down. So you get that internal swing structure, probably a measured move as well. All right, so if we come right here, you see we get in that pocket, first, second target. Okay, I think that's probably enough here. Hopefully I haven't confused you, but again, the best way to use it or to learn it is, see, now we're up to 1676 because of the changes we made here and where we entered those trades. You got to play with it a little bit just to get a feel for it, and then I would sim as you get familiar with how things are going to change throughout the course of the day. Once you're comfortable with it, well then have at it, maybe adjust and experiment. But if you haven't traded this before, I'd stay in sim for a day or two until you're absolutely clear on what you're doing with it. Just good advice for any indicator. Sim it until you're clear on that you understand it. Okay, with that, I'll wrap it up there, guys. Just a reminder, you can always head over to our website. Well, here, I just showed it to you here. You can always come over here. You can grab the free trial. Again, 7 calendar, 5 trading. We always give you the option here to either purchase the indicator or you can lease it, right? So you would pay 25% of the purchase price. That will run for 5 months. If you let it run for 5 months, you own the lifetime. You own the indicator for a lifetime. If let's say you got a month or 2 months in, and you're like, I'm not really liking this. All right, well then rather than have to just eat the loss of your $300 indicator, well you can just cancel the subscription. You only paid, a fraction of that, and then you can try something else. That was the point of doing that. We all have indicators that we were excited about at one time. That's why we bought it, but then we got working with it and like, I'm not using that. I don't like it as much as I thought I would, and now you've just got another indicator, collecting dust or digital dust because you're not using it. Well, we wanted to try and avoid that. So we don't want you with a bunch of our indicators you're not using. We want you to, but we also want you to be able to experiment and find the right combination. So without having to buy a bunch of indicators at full price, that was the thinking behind the monthly subscription. So you decide what the final package is. We do have pro trading packages where we put things together, but you might want to, I use a variation on these. I was trying to create the same opportunity that I have for our customers. I can use anything. Right? So I mix and match, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to do the same thing. Okay, guys, there you go. That's probably all I can offer with regards to the new indicator, but I think some nice new features here, and this makes it really fast and easy to adjust on the fly. Okay, there you go. Have a good one, and we'll be back with the next update. Okay, take it easy.